Hey everyone, my mixer never came with the option of a battery on it, meaning that it only ever functioned the scale when it was plugged into a tractor. So we put a battery on it ourselves a couple years ago when I bought it. I just spliced into the trailer wiring plug and powered the scale through that. That means it runs for about 2 weeks, depending on how cold it gets before I have to charge the battery. This morning I just put a battery charger on it. So every Monday is maintenance day. I just run a grease gun through the mixer, make sure everything looks good, check the knives, they're all intact. That way I don't have any surprises if the battery dies. It can't really function without the scale. I'm winding down my lambing group. Got a few ewes that are starting to get sick, which can kind of happen after lambing. There's a lot of stress and sheep don't really show sickness until it gets pretty bad. So I just try and walk through all the group pens every day in the barn and make sure everyone's looking good. And if they are starting to show a little bit of lethargicness, give them a shot of some medicine and you're just damage control. If you have lambs that start to look weak, I'll usually just go and check the ewe and make sure she's still got milk. That's about when you start seeing sickness issues. But you don't have a lot of time with lambs, so I try and check things multiple times a day and just get everyone up and going and see if that there's no lambs hunched up in the corner that are looking hungry. Process some lambs, get them in the group pen. There's one group pen that's got quite a bit of room in it. And we don't have a lot of jugs set up. Well, the ones I do have are full. Just had this guy and a couple more this morning. So they're pretty easy to settle. Big lambs. These are some good ewes. It's pretty important when you process a lamb that you give them a few minutes, or like an hour preferably, to get acclimated after the stress. You put a band on their tail and stuff before you dump them right into the group pen. Generally, I'll process things in the morning, go do some chores in the rest of the barn. By the time the lambs have settled down, then they're probably good enough to move into the group pen. Because once you move a sheep into a group pen, everyone has to say hi and they all get riled up and then the lambs get all stirred up. So if it's first thing in the morning, I like to let them be settled in and just keep things as calm as we can, as long as we can. One of the lambs born this morning just kind of shoved under the feed alley a bit. And I don't know if something went wrong in the birthing, but he just doesn't look really lively. So first thing to do is get colostrum in him, and it makes a big difference if it's warm. Another thing that's pretty important with tube feeding lambs, always stick your finger in their mouth a little bit. Activate that sucking motion. That reduces your chance of getting it in their lungs and drowning them. I think he just had a pretty rough start to life, so we'll get you going here, buddy. He's huge too. Sometimes they can get stuck or they're swollen up, get a little bit weak. That just kind of adds some more issues. Excuse me. Add some more issues when they're huge. So I don't have a milk machine for my orphans. I just have 5-gallon buckets with nipples on the bottom. There's way too many orphans in here, so as soon as I get a chance, I'll make the pen a bit bigger. I can get away with it when they're really small. As soon as they start growing up a bit. Guys, I'm making a video. Keep it down. I have one heat lamp in here. They do like to snuggle, which works great, except for when they're actually too cold. They snuggle too much, and then the ones on the bottom are warm, but they're not breathing anymore. So, found a flaw with my feed alley. I really hope he belongs in this pen. So the last couple of years I've used these wooden sheds. They're 8 by 16, so they're not very deep. And I've kind of found with lambs in the winter, just to conserve space because I didn't have a lot of extra sheds, I would try and keep all the lambs together and put some kind of a crete panel in front of the shed so that the ewes couldn't get in. But I found what that created, when it was real cold, and if the lambs are young enough, they can't produce enough heat, keep themselves warm, so they're snuggling, but when it's real cold, it doesn't go well. And the problem with these sheds, they're just not deep enough. They're only 8 feet, and there's a lot of calf shelters out there that you can get. The standard is 12, so you can haul it down the road easily. 12 by 30 is pretty common. I started looking at it more and more and realizing that there's a lot of benefit from having the ewes with the lambs for warmth, but the flip side of that is you do not want to crowd them, because if it's real cold, they'll just find space on top of each other, and again, lights out. A lot of thinking, a lot of designing this last year, and I think we came up with a pretty good solution. One other problem that comes with these wooden sheds, the gap here where the skid is, when the manure builds up, they're really tough to move. And when I gotta clean pens, little things like making it difficult to move sheds because of manure buildup, that takes a lot of time and that makes it really tough. Those kind of jobs get neglected, or the other flip side is you're in too much of a rush and you rip your shed apart. So I have to fix that. And then another problem again with wooden sheds is they rot. Nothing like steel. They got tin roofs, that's a benefit, but they just don't stay together. So I didn't cheap out on these ones. I decided 12 feet wide wasn't gonna be long enough or deep enough for what I wanted. I could have built like a permanent shelter. Those are again a pain to clean out, and I'm in such a growing phase of sheep farming that I don't want to go out and build a shed. I'm going to outgrow in a couple years, or if I put something up, I think, well, here's why I shouldn't have put it there, and now if I go out and spend 50 grand on a building, like, now I'm stuck with it. We did a little bit of work and we designed these. They are 18 by 45. They probably aren't going down the road. They could, it'd just be really expensive. They're going to sit where the sheep are, and then I will move them one end or the other off of the manure pile, scrape it up and move it back. They're strong enough to move around, no problem, just like a regular calf shelter. They're all completely built out of 2 7/8 drill pipe. They are not coming apart, that's for sure. Strapped everything with 2x6, and we put tin on it. We actually have no idea what we're doing, building things. When I say we, me and a hired man, I told him, hey, I want to build some calf shelters. I want them to be big, and here's your welder. And I gave him a 1960s Lincoln stick welder. I paid 200 bucks for it, and I said, have at her. Between the two of us, we kind of figured it out. We went with 18 feet wide because that's all I could fit in the barn. So this is the first one we built, and I made that too tall. It's great for clearing things, clearing as the manure builds up and as straw gets in there. I will not have a problem with getting it off the manure. So I ended up putting on, you can see there, just an angle iron bracket, and I'll fit a 2x10 across there, and that should make a difference. I'm not interested in lowering the sides too much because I just hate having manure build up and then you have to lift the shed off of it somehow, and that is how you wreck stuff. So we're gonna put sheep in on these probably in the next couple of days. I also have never put tin on something before. I've learned that there's a few tricks you should do with that, and I think that'll make it easier if I build these again. I haven't ruled out closing in one end or the other just on the front side, but again, I'm very nervous of that because if it is real cold, they will all jam into that side. You either have to be all or nothing. You give all of them fully enclosed shelter, or you give them nothing. I don't have the infrastructure to keep all my sheep inside all the time, and if I was going to go out and build a big massive barn and try and do it, I'm going to go broke. The only thing that's left is we've got to finish that end, and I'm working by myself today, so I'm going to go do that right now.
I'm needing sheep. It's the only thing for me. Soft and white and dumb and chill. Bet they're so easy to kill. I'll be rolling in the money in no time at all. The girls see my lambs, they'll say,
Give me a call.